there's still a real sense of being in a dream, of kind of unreality to that. But it is a lovely reality, and I do pinch myself regularly and just make myself realise that it's happened. Yeah.
Thank you, Fiona. So, speaking of your writing journey, you first wrote contemporary fiction, but later switched to historical fiction. So, my question is, what inspired this shift?
It was a big life change, actually. As you read my kind of potted CV, you can tell there was no career path to it. It perfectly clarifies the question that my sons often ask me, Mum, what do you do with a geography degree? And the answer is, you do all those things that Anna mentioned. But when my sons had reached the stage where they'd grown up, and I'd always been a full-time working mother, you know, those were my priorities. A really avid reader from early childhood, so books had always been a big part of my life. But I'd never, although I would often think I wish I could have written that when I put a book down, finished a book, or was in the middle of a book. You know, we all relate to that. There are those little moments where it just grabs you and you can relate so intensely to something that the author has written. And you love the way that they've encapsulated it, but you feel like it's touching something deep inside you, you really get it. So I often had those moments, but it was actually a move to France from Scotland, where I live. I'm back in Scotland again. Mm-hmm. But we made a big move to France, my then husband and we bought a very falling down farmhouse in the middle of the French countryside, and we did that sort of dream thing of doing it up. So suddenly I found myself in a place where I had the time, and I also had the inspiration to begin writing. So it was those factors that got me started. As you mentioned, I did begin by writing contemporary novels, and I was lucky enough, after the usual struggles that all starting out writers will know about, I was lucky enough to find a publisher who would publish my first novel, and they asked for 2 more. Those were quite light-hearted books and very much contemporary fiction. But during the time I lived in France, I began to be able to scratch and get beneath the surface a little bit of the community that I'd moved into. The house that we bought was situated right on what had been a demarcation line between occupied and unoccupied France during World War II. And wherever there's a line on a map, this happens. So slowly, as I got to know my neighbours, and we were in the wine-making area of Bordeaux, so that was lovely, so over a few glasses of wine of an evening, slowly the French friends that I made began to open up a bit and talk a bit more about those war years, which I was really interested in. So there's stories of resistance, those stories of immense courage, and the horrors as well that went on with it, began to sort of percolate through into my consciousness, and that was when I thought, no, these stories need to be told. You know, these people are not going to be around for much longer to tell the stories. Sometimes they've already been handed down to the next generation. So that was really the impetus for me. But I